my friends, and welcome to Maddix Motivations. Okay, first of all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It means a lot that you took the time to watch this. And I was actually talking to my son the other day. We do a lot of heart-to-heart chats, and we just have one of those relationships where we, you know what, we're close, man. We tight. We got a bond. And you know, we're talking about business and business lessons, and one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in business and relationships, I learned because I failed at it drastically. It cost me so much money. It cost me friendships and relationships, even in my dating life. And so, remember, my mission is to be transparent with you guys and to share with you so that you don't make the same mistakes, so that you don't have to go through the pain that I went through, so that you can take these little bits of wisdom from my YouTube channel and you can get stronger and you can get wiser and you can make more money and you can save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of stress. How many guys would love for that to happen in your life? Less heartache, less stress, less frustration, better relationships, healthier relationships, long-term relationships, and of course, it all comes down to perspective. And you know, in the future, I'm going to teach you guys about how to know the difference between, you know, a seasonal relationship and a long-term relationship. And I'm not just talking about dating. I'm talking about the connections in your life, because sometimes you wonder, wow, I thought we'd be friends forever, and you rack your head against the wall and you can't figure out what happened. But the truth is that relationship was only intended by destiny to last for a season, and that's for another video. But anyway, so more on my communication failure. How many of you guys have ever heard the term communication wins wars? Everything lives and dies by communication, especially when it comes to people and it comes to relationships. Well, I'm going to give you some lessons that I learned on my journey about communication. And what I've passed on to my son is, Caleb, of all the things that you can do in business and in relationships, communication is very important. In other words, it's the most important, whether it's to your customers. If for some reason you need to be late on a product, 99% of people will be okay with it if you communicate with them. You know, whether it's something like that. You know, there are people that all they need from you is just good, clear communication. Communication, now they still might be frustrated, they still might be angry, but they tend to be a little more forgiving and a little more understanding when you communicate. So, you know, I'm glad I went through this. I'm not glad that I had the pain as a result of this. I'm not glad because of, you know, the loss of some relationships because of this, but I'm glad because I learned it young. I'm still young. I get to share it with you guys, so I'm going to save you guys a lot of heartache, but I'm so glad that I can pass it to my son, and at the age of 15, he gets to learn this, because I have this like good feeling that my life is all about taking big risk, trying things, doing things, living it big, you know, thinking big, dreaming big, you know, building businesses, impacting millions of people, showing up in a big way, you know, so that I can learn. Obviously, it also causes breakthrough and success, but it's so that I can learn to pass on to my future generations. That's why I write books. That's why I do these videos, because I do believe my great-great-grandkids will watch these videos. And like Gary Vee says, hi Jeremiah. I love that when he says that. It's always so funny. Anyway, so the 7 things that are going to help you right now in your life today. I mean, this weekend's going to be unbelievable if you do these 7 things. Your spouse is going to like probably give you more love making than you've ever had if you do these 7 things. You're going to be closer with your kids. Your employees aren't going to hate you as bad. Your business relationships will get better. Your clients will love you more. Does that sound awesome or what, my friends? So here they are. I know you guys are probably thinking, would you shut up and get to them? All right, here they are. Number one is always clarify your expectations. All disappointment comes when expectations are not met. Well, unfortunately, you guys have heard this before, and if not, let me give it to you. Delegation without clear direction leads to frustration. Well, communication, when we don't have clear expectation communicated, people get disappointed, they get their feelings hurt, they get angry, and a lot of times on both sides, and you guys remember this, it always takes two to tango. And there's always in relationships, most relationships, I wholeheartedly believe, can be healed in 10 minutes. Obviously, you got to be emotionally healthy. You got to lay aside the ego. You got to be willing to admit you're wrong. You got to be willing to apologize. But most relationships actually can be fixed when you just realize that, you know what, it just was a misunderstanding. I wasn't more clear about what my expectations were. I know this in building. I've probably through the years, had maybe close to 40 to 50 different employees and team members. The number one mistake, because I'm a big vision and I see it, you guys ever just like see it in your brain? And I guess you just expect everyone else to see it. Well, that's kind of how I was, I saw it, I felt it. A lot of times I just didn't slow down to communicate the clear expectation. And this goes on both sides. I've seen situations where somebody expected something from their boss, but they never clearly communicated that expectation. So that's number one. Number two is always be 100% upfront. I'm talking like no guessing. Completely hold nothing back. Be completely direct and honest in your communication. The worst thing that we can do with our family and friends is leave them guessing. It's leave them walking away thinking, what did he mean? Like, nobody should ever have to guess what we mean. Now, obviously, this takes a lot of practice, because when you are a person that's a truthful, direct, like upfront person, a lot of times that can be misunderstood as rude, as inconsiderate, as harsh. So you got to practice your upfrontness. A lot of times, especially as we start to set boundaries, we upset our family and friends because we're trying to say no, we're trying to have boundaries, and a lot of times we just come across the wrong way with the wrong energy and sometimes say it the wrong way. But I've learned in all my relationships and communication that the best thing to do is be completely upfront. Now, again, confession time. I got all these notifications popping up on my phone, so I'm just trying to get rid of them so I can focus on you guys. Confession time. You ready for this? I used to be a big people pleaser. I used to never want to disappoint people. And I am a visionary. You know what that means? A lot of times, I will confess right now, one of the number one mistakes that I made was just hype. Sometimes hype, excitement, and just not slowing down to be completely upfront. And Caleb and I are learning this now, and we're building our team of volunteers for our movement, is to just be totally upfront. Like, here are our expectations, and here's exactly what we can and what we cannot do for you. Now, what if we did this in our dating life? Now, I'll give you an example. In my dating life, this is a big mistake that I made, is I just wasn't totally upfront from the first date with the girl. In that, look, I'm not ready right now. I don't have the time or the energy to give exactly what most ladies need. And I'm going to just be upfront with you and tell you what I can give. You know what? When I started doing that, I found that they were like appreciative. There was no drama. There was no feelings hurt, because I was totally upfront with them, okay? Number 3, my friends, write this down, is never assume. You guys have heard the saying, you know what assume does? It makes an ASS out of you and me. That's how you spell assume. So it's always good to just, hey, I don't want to assume. Like for example, you assume if you ask your boss off Friday, he's not going to be upset. Well, that's your assumption. Why don't you just come out and ask him, hey, boss George, Mr. George, I just want to make sure that if I take off on Friday, you're not going to be one bit upset. You're not going to be one bit disappointed, not even 1%. You know what that is? That's communication. We have all these assumptions, and I will tell you guys a good book that's a good read. I haven't read it in a long time. I should probably read it once a month, is The 4 Agreements. What if we honestly lived our lives based on the 4 agreements? And one of the 4 agreements is never assume anything. You can't assume. It's always good to double check. Hey, I just want to double check before I do this that, for example, I'm going to get paid on Tuesday by 5 o'clock. And this is the exact amount I'm going to get. I want to double check that. I don't want to just assume, because we do that way too many times in our relationships. Ladies do this with guys and guys with ladies. A guy assumes that if he takes a girl on a romantic dinner, then she's going to go make love to him that night. That's a bad assumption. And then that saves you from thinking she's taking advantage of you. I'm just throwing this out there as an analogy, okay? That's not my belief. Okay, number 4, biggest business lesson of the 21st century. The biggest, you ready? It's basic, it's easy, always get stuff in writing. Now, I am a big believer that word is bond. My grandfather taught me if you can't be a man of your word, you're not anything. And, I've followed Marcus Lemonis, and, he does a lot of his deals on a handshake, and I just kind of adapted that philosophy. I've got many business partnerships where we're just tight. We've been partners for literally 7 years and never a hiccup. Of course, conflict, of course, disagreement, but never a fallout. And it was literally, we never had anything in writing. It could have been disastrous. So what? I've adapted a belief right now. And that is when it comes to business, when it comes to hiring people, when it comes to, people signing up for your products and services, it's just always good to get it in writing. Because he said, she said becomes disastrous. When it's in writing, you can just slide the paper across and say, well, here's what we both signed that we would agree to. That should take less than 10 minutes. Nobody should be hurt or offended because it needs to be in writing. And I've literally tell my son, get it in writing, get it in writing, get it in writing, because it's just safe, it's smart, it saves you, it just saves you. And you know what, you may never use it. Put it in a file just in case, put it in writing. That's just a little business tip, something I learned about communication. Is, our brains have a hard time remembering details. And so that's why if you don't put it in writing, it's easy to forget what you said, what they said, what the expectation was. If you're ever doing business deals, put it in writing. Okay, did you guys get that? Okay, number 5, back to communication for a minute. Ask people if they understand what you said or how you feel. And the best way to do this is say, can you repeat back to me exactly what you heard me say? And this is good for us to do on both sides. Hey, let me repeat this back to you just to make sure that I'm crystal clear about what you want and what you need. You know what I'm saying? And that's just very good practical communication tips on how to get better when it comes to communicating. Ask if they understand. Hey, I just want to make sure you understand exactly. And I don't want to annoy you, but I've learned to be detailed in my communication, and I want to share it with you one more time. Okay? Number 6, always communicate major details quick. Don't leave people, wondering and guessing. There's an old saying. I remember when I worked with one of my mentors. He used to say, whatever you do, never surprise me. Beat me to the news. So that, there would maybe be a rumor out there, and I would literally send him an email and say, hey, here's the exact rumor that's out there on me, because I've never, ever lied to you, and he knows that. I've been brutally honest with him. I said, look, this is exactly what is true about the rumor, and this is exactly what is false. Well, what was cool about that is that he was never surprised, and he knew exactly the facts and the details. So whether it's if you need to fire somebody, you need to something in a relationship, maybe something with your spouse. Don't wait. If there's a major detail coming, communicate it quickly. One of your buddies says, hey, I just got tickets to, the game on Friday. Listen, wisdom would say, hey, immediately text your wife and say, hey, honey, Friday night I got an opportunity to go to the game. I just want to let you know it starts at 7 o'clock. I probably won't be home till 11. Just want to double check that there's nothing going on Friday night. Something like that. Just being quick to communicate the details. Details, my friends. Details is what's, gonna help strengthen or weaken relationships. You gotta communicate the details. And last but not least, my friends, and there's more, but I only try to keep these videos under 20 minutes. But last but not least is never, ever, unless you absolutely have to. It's the last resort. And there's no other way. Never, ever express your feelings in writing. I see people do this. I've made this mistake 30 times through my journey. You know what I'm saying? It's just not good communication. The way we're supposed to be is we are all supposed to be approachable. We gotta lay aside the ego, the defensiveness, the stubbornness. We have to, be mature, be fair to say, you know what, that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't see it that way. I see why you feel that way. I understand why you feel that way. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Let's resolve this right now. But unfortunately, what in the world of email and text, I see relationships, business partners. I have friends that are business partners. They never talk. All of their arguments and disagreements are emails back and forth to each other and texts back and forth to each other. I'm like, that's not healthy. Pick up the phone and talk through it. Pick up the phone, be mature, and resolve this thing quick. Nike has a rule, and I love it. I think it was the president of Nike. Anytime they would have a conflict, they would say, we're going to shut the door, and we're not leaving this room until it's resolved. I don't care if we got to stay up all night, drink coffee, and talk it out. I love that. I think that's the way to be, because there's something about being able to look someone in the eye. There's something about body language. There's so much to communication that even when you write something, it's so easy to misunderstanding emotion, tone of voice. The way I feel about it is even so hard to express it in writing. So please don't handle your relationship conflict in writing. Do it face to face. And if you can't be face to face, do it on FaceTime or Skype, or do it on the phone, and typing it is got to become a discipline of ours that we don't do. Okay? So guys, here's what I want to do. I want to thank you for watching this video. 20 minutes of your time is valuable. But my mission is to literally share, be transparent, honest, and real, and give you things every single day that's going to make your life better. Now, many of you reach out and you're like, dude, I want you to become my coach. I only take on 10 people a month. I would love to coach you guys. You would get such a breakthrough, so much intuitive strategy from me. And it's really a simple process. You just click the link in this video in the description, fill out the short form. Even if I'm booked for the month, we can always get you in next month, or get you in, once I'm done giving somebody a breakthrough. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, I love you. I believe in you. Do me a favor, subscribe to my channel. And I want you to at least share this video with one person and on one of your social media platforms. Share it on Facebook or Twitter, or Instagram and text the link of this video to some people, because hey, who doesn't need some more value about communication? Love you guys. I believe in you, and I'll see you tomorrow.